Hello, Internet. Um, I decided I wanted to make a video basically covering all the different terrain that I've made over the years, probably within the past 4 years, maybe 5 years, just to show some of the stuff that I've come up with. I'm sure most of you have done the same type of thing, but just to give an example of what I've done and sort of the corrections that I've made. I tend to make terrain sort of in sets. That's whenever I get into the mood to make terrain. I make a bunch of pieces. It lasts about 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then I don't feel like making anymore, so I go a while without doing it. Those supplies that I had run out, and by the time I decide to make more, I'm on a whole different set of supplies with a different set of, skills and tools that I've picked up, so I start using those, and hence the terrain will look different. So I think one of the first couple pieces that I made were these two right here. This one here is basically just a stepped hill, couple of rocks on it. You can see it's a bit damaged there. You can also tell I used white foam because this was before I knew about how not good white foam is and how you should always use pink or blue foam. Always, forever, always. Don't use white foam. I know it's cheaper and usually free, but it is crap once you get used to the pink stuff. And also buy yourself a wire cutter. Everything here, other than a couple pieces, were made with a wire cutter, and I won't ever stop using it. It's perfect. So you got that stepped hill there, a couple different, I don't know, like an obelisk type thing, just some stones. I use standard flock and static grass, which I didn't know how to use at the time, so you can see the static grass is all laid down and not grass-like. And also the flock and static grass are in these odd patches, almost so that from a distance it looks polka dotted. That's not right. I have gotten better with that, I swear. This here is basically not necessarily for elevated terrain. I mean, you could put a couple guys on there, maybe, one small base here and here, and that's about it. The rest of it you couldn't really fit anything. But that's basically just to, obscure line of sight and just add a little flair to the field. And as you can see, again, flocking that with the static grass and stuff, and also using white foam, I basically cut out different odd shapes, each one a little smaller than the next, and put them at angles and stacked them so that it created that sort of, I don't know, like shelves like you would see in nature. Rocks kind of have like shelves. They come out in jagged angles and stuff like that. So that's what I went with that one. Terrible flocking job. And both of them were just painted over with one single coat of gray, no dry brushing, no washing, nothing. So that was probably my first set. After that, I made these, and it's really just two hills because I play War Machine and Hordes, and your main pieces of terrain are ruins, forests, and hills. I have never had the nerve to do ruins. Forests, you usually just use cutout pieces of felt like this right here. That would be a forest. That'd be another forest. So you don't really make those. Although I do have this nice set of trees right here, which we'll get to. But I went and made these, also done with a wire cutter, also done on white foam. This is just before I got to the point of realizing that pink foam is wonderful. These I did a little bit better with. I cut them at more natural angles and also beveled the edges a little better so that if you need to, you can put a model halfway on. Yeah, that's basically those two little hills. After that, I moved on to these, which have a bit more of a desert feel to them because I went with a brown reddish stone as opposed to a gray. This one here, I want to say the name of the site is Blue Table Painting or Blue Table Terrain, something like that. They have a bunch of videos on YouTube. They're professional terrain makers. I actually got this idea from him, which was take 4 to 6 pieces of medium density foam, like an inch a piece, and stack them all up. And then with a knife at an angle, you just go in and cut slits and like chunks out of it, and you get a really nice, realistic looking piece of rock. It's got all these nice cuts and corners and jagged edges in it. And then I went and used some regular play sand and got some of that on there. Again, not a great job. Still wasn't really sure what I was doing. No washing, no dry brushing. It's just one solid coat of brown. I think it's house paint, so it's nothing fancy. And then made these to go along with it, because like I said, when I make terrain, it's usually in chunks. These two here, just, you know, your standard hills, nothing fancy about them. Trying to get better lighting for you guys. Yeah, nothing fancy about those. This one's kind of a U shape. This here started out as, I guess you guys would call it like a orc pit or something like that. Again, not a Warhammer player, never was. But standard toothpicks poking out, supposed to be like a spiky wall type thing. You know, this edge not quite as beveled as it should be. It's still kind of bumpy, but that would be that. Got some play sand inside there. Just sort of supposed to be a barricade of some kind that guys could hide inside of and whatnot. So off of the bad terrain, and I'm not going to include the stuff that I've put in other videos, because you guys have obviously, if you want to see that, go find those videos. This is stuff that I made before. So next would be this set here, which is the largest set that I've done. These are all specifically made for War Machine and Hordes. They're actually all measured out accurately. These are 4-inch craters. These are supposed to be 3-inch trenches. This is before I knew anything about modular trenches, and realized that this is not a good way to make trenches. These are 8-inch hills, and that is a 12-inch hill, I believe. Decided to go with a more unbeveled edge, because it gets to the point where no matter what you do, you put a model on the edge, it's going to fall over. And I was tired of chipping and scratching freshly painted models, so I went with more of a straight cut edge so that it was clear that you can't put models on it. I also got a bunch of these nice cuts in here. I don't know why, I just think they make the hill look better. It almost looks kind of like a clock face. I mean, it's probably not even really that realistic. I like how it looks. And those are done with just taking a hot wire cutter and sort of laying the wire into the top of the foam flush, and then popping it out real quick, and you get those nice little slits and gouges. I just think it looks better. And this is done with nice solid pink foam. So very sturdy, very tough, not gonna, not going anywhere. The craters I like. The only thing that's annoying about them is you can't put a model partially in. Model's either in or out, because the way that they're, the way they're raised around the edge, and these are just based on cardboard. The way they're raised around the edge, you either have to be in it or not. So it kind of turns it from a 4-inch crater into a 3-inch crater with a 1-inch border that you can't stand on. So I would definitely go with come up with a better way to make one of those. If anybody has any ideas, I'd love to know about it. I've seen a few online where you can take a piece of foam and light the middle of it on fire, and it just kind of melts away. That sounds like it would smell terrible, and also would give you this same effect, which, again, doesn't work too well when you try to put it in a game and use it for practical purposes. As far as modular or linear, modular, whatever that word is, trenches go, this was basically my idea, that you could have these, line them up like this, or not if you didn't want to, and you'd basically get what looks like sort of a trench. The problem is, the way that those are cut, it's basically foam that was cut at a round angle. You can see that there. And again, makes it very hard to stand a model in there. You either have to balance it perfectly in the middle, or stand it at an angle on either side, in which case it's probably going to fall over. So a good idea in theory, doesn't actually work when you go to use it in the game. Hurry up here, because I think there's like a 10-minute time limit on these things. We wanted an undead, Sleepy Hollow looking tree. I took a bunch of pipe cleaners, knotted them all together, bent them all out. Doesn't exactly look like a tree. I mean, the bottom almost looks like it has legs, like it could walk away, but kind of the effect we were going for. And then just dry brush the entire thing with brown. Not an amazing piece, but adds a little flair to the table. And then lastly, with the last quick couple seconds in this video, these trees here are just your standard terrain scenery from Woodland Scenics. You can buy them. I hated making them. You have to get all of that fluffy flock to stick to them, which the tactic that they give you in the instructions doesn't work at all. Also, they don't come with bases, so I had to use some spare bases I had lying around. They look nice. They're not quite to scale for 30mm or 25mm, but they do okay. And again, they do add a bit of realism to the field. I just hated making them. They were annoying, and still they constantly, like if you shake them like this, little bits fall off, and you wind up with these sort of hanging pieces, which, I don't know, maybe I did it wrong. I just feel like it was too much of a hassle. I'd rather almost something like that than to have to pick up flock bits off my felt every time I put these trees down. And they were expensive. That sucks. Alright, so yeah, that's my stuff. I'm sure I have some other stuff lying around. If I find it, I'll throw a quick video up for you guys, but this is pretty much what I've done so far in my amateur terrain making career. So yeah, you guys have a good one.